Today's guest went from being broke and in debt to becoming a private equity investor and super connector to the top 1%. After living and working alongside crypto millionaires and billionaires in Miami, Austin, Puerto Rico, and the UAE, she now brings these high-level wealth insights to a more grounded mission of helping women build real financial power. And in today's episode, she shares a lot of that wisdom with us. So if you are curious about how you can not only make money, but you can keep it and have your money work for you, take a listen as we speak with Lindsay Freedman. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Freedom Blueprint. And today I am excited to have Lindsay Freedman with me. Thank you for being here, Melissa.
Hi, thank you for having me, Adrienne.
I'm really excited for our conversation because for those who do not know Melissa, she really specializes in helping her clients create personalized financial game plans. And so we're going to talk a lot about the importance of, financial planning, of wealth building, of being intentional about it, and have a lot of wisdom that can help you as a real estate investor wherever you are in building and maintaining and shepherding and growing your financial wealth. So I'm excited, Melissa.
Me too. Thank you.
So let's get started with, why do you do what you do? Like, how did you end up in this place where you help people with this issue of financial planning, thinking big picture, considering wealth building?
Yeah, I'm originally from Canada. I immigrated from Canada to the United States and became a naturalized citizen. And so for me, the whole US financial system was so confusing and overwhelming. I didn't know where to start. As a young 20-something who transplanted to California, I just had no idea how to create, a line of credit for myself, how to really get started in the financial landscape. And as a female, single financial individual, in order to accomplish all of my desires, get a place to live, make sure that I was set up with the right bank account, all these little simple things. And over time, as I was learning how to steward money and create wealth for myself, I really felt like a lot of financial advisors that I would go to, a lot of traditional financial companies and institutions were not seeing me as my whole individual, like all the desires and the goals that I had for my life. And they were just making assumptions about me as a woman. And so I realized there was a gap there. When I finally created wealth for myself, I had no idea how to preserve it and how to actually grow it. And I think there's also a really big gap between the people that understand how to create the wealth, but then once they get it, they have no idea how to preserve it, how to grow it, because retaining it is really like a muscle. And so I just, during my entire financial journey, obviously, Adrienne, I've had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of experiences. And so really just had to learn for myself how to navigate this landscape, and was very fortunate that I was in the right circles with average millionaires and billionaires and was able to ask the questions and be vulnerable. And that is what really created my financial education and helped me understand how to set myself up as a financial individual. And so now I feel very privileged that I can help women in particular understand how to not just create wealth, but preserve it and grow it even more.
Right. And this isn't something, to any of those points that we often get instruction on. And yet it's so important because otherwise we're working our booties off to make this money. And, so many people, they don't track where they are spending their money, right? And it just is easily, it flows in and it flows right out. So let's kind of start at the beginning and kind of talk about, the challenges if people are not intentional about their wealth, right? Intentional about learning about wealth preservation and wealth accumulation tactics. And what happens, right? If people are like the average American or probably the average Canadian, and they're just whatever, I'm living life, I'm doing my job, I'm making money, I must be good. What are the consequences of that we see?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we talk a lot of time about the Carnegies and the Rockefellers and all these big families in the United States, how they have preserved wealth throughout the generations and really created financial legacy for their family name. And the way that they did that was through financial education. And for the most part, a lot of people that, will step into creating wealth, it happens all the time in real estate, right? You have people that leverage and then they have an amazing project that works out and they create wealth for themselves, but they only know the leverage portion, right? So they keep reinvesting and re-leveraging versus actually diversifying diversifying, trying other things, understanding who they are as a financial individual to actually
Hmm.
set themselves up for, putting some of that aside, creating legacy, doing all the things that they want to do to accomplish their desires in their life. Yeah, it just gets lost generation over generation, or even in your own life, if you don't actually tweak your mindset and just start thinking financially a little bit differently when it comes to wealth, because the preservation is a muscle. Preserving it is really like ground zero in step one once you've created it. And then once you can knows how to preserve it, then you can understand like avenues where you can start growing it even more.
So let's say I love all of this and there's so much we can dive into. So let's start with like, hey, let's say someone's listening or they're watching us on social media right now and they're like, okay, I'm hustling, I'm making money, whether it's their W-2, real estate, wherever it is. They're like, okay, I've got the money. How do I start preserving it? What would you say is like step one for somebody when they're like, okay, this is me and I have this problem?
I would say the one thing I do right away with my clients is I literally sit down with them in a Google sheet and we look at their entire financial landscape. Like how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, where is all the money, where are your debts? And then we talk about them as an individual. Like what are your goals? What are your desires? What are the things that you value? What do you want to accomplish? Because that takes money. Understanding the financial numbers to accomplishing your goals is super important. And then the next step I would say to dive even further is getting familiar with who you are as a financial individual, which means understanding your risk tolerance. And I think it's common theme and everybody knows that if you want to really create like insurmountable wealth, a lot of wealth for yourself in such a short period of time, you have to be risky, right? You have to take risks. But I think a lot of people don't understand what their tolerance is. And they're just throwing themselves into these situations versus really understanding how to almost even slowly move into a more risk and like riskier and aggressive profile, which will help them create more over time. So you see people that swing both ways. You see people that either go like they're super conservative and they don't want to do anything, and they're like, I keep my money in a checking account, a savings account, or the S&P. And then you see other people who are like, I'm 100% in real estate, I'm 100% in crypto, I'm 100% in private equity, whatever it may be, that those people may not even understand what their risk tolerance is and how to find the happy medium of slowly pushing themselves into the opposite direction to really preserve and grow and create legacy.
Right. Yeah. The risk piece, I know like in real estate investing, we talk about that a lot because there's so many strategies you can have in real estate investing. And I always say like neither is good or bad. It's just which is the right fit for someone. And one piece of that, there's several pieces, but one piece of that is their risk tolerance. And sometimes you get people, especially who are newer to real estate investing, and they see some strategy that has the potential for a really high return, right? Like a BRRRR kind of strategy where they're going to buy a property, renovate it, get it rented out, refinance it to get their equity out and go repeat, right? And they're trying to build a portfolio for like zero. They're just creating all this equity. And so they can keep rinsing and repeating. And yeah, it looks great on paper. What paper doesn't take into account is the reason you're getting that great return is because there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of risk in that, right? There's a lot of risk when you do value add and all these different pieces. A lot of stuff has to align for it to really work out in that ideal way that it looks like on paper. So I agree. That's something I talk a lot with people about on the real estate investing side is, do you understand the risk that is in that strategy you've chosen? And is it really something you're comfortable with? So
yeah, and I don't think it's just that. It's also like, if you're willing to take this risk, are you doing it in a calculated way where maybe you have a buffer, Like, are you sitting down and looking at your run rate and your timeline and thinking, okay, well, maybe I need to allocate X for this amount of time before this investment, like the BRRRR, works out, Maybe it's like, okay, this is going to be like a year plan or a 3-year plan or something. And so really understanding, that's why it's so funny. And everybody's like, what's the secret sauce? What's the unique method? I'm like, when it comes down to finances, it's just knowing your numbers. Like that is step one. And it's really simple.
Oh my gosh, it's the same in the real estate investing world. It's like we do this to make money. And yet so many real estate investors, they have the issue of they just don't know their numbers. They don't track their expenses. They don't know at the end of whatever that deal is, how much they really made and what that percentage is, on a return on investment kind of situation. So I love this. So real estate investors, listen up, do it in your real estate investing and do it in your personal finance and wealth building as well. Please, please, please. So do you have any tools that you recommend for people, to help them know the numbers? Are we doing all of this in Google Sheets, or is any other resource that can help people? Because it can be a lot. It can be a lot to track the numbers.
Yeah. So I work in Google Sheets because I love it. And it's like you can see the whole landscape. I have a format that actually sets up like, your retirement plan and your goals and helps you understand how to track towards that and where you are. But when it comes to apps, Monarch Money, I'm an affiliate for them. I really enjoy their app. I think right now they're maybe running a promotion, but I think it's usually like $25 a month maximum. So definitely worth
Awesome.
the investment if you want to see the entire landscape of your financials and you're not willing to take a few minutes during the month and sit down on a Google Sheet.
Awesome. Well, I'll have to look into that. It's one I haven't heard of before. So I love that. One of the things I love about having this podcast, I get to learn new things. But also, Melissa, if you want to send us the affiliate link, we'll put it in the show notes. So if anybody wants to go, you can support Melissa and her bringing you to it by clicking on that link in the show notes. So that's awesome. Thank you. And I kind of interrupted. Are there more tools or resources that you would recommend to people?
There's so many that are popping up every day. I would say Monarch Money is the most like consolidated right now because what we're seeing more and more is like there's younger generations that are investing into crypto and not a lot of these platforms actually like aggregate your crypto holdings onto their site. So I haven't seen one that's like really super comprehensive if I'm being transparent. Monarch is probably the best right now.
Right. Yeah. I think, when we talk about these high level strategies, like with what you're doing, the truth is that most tools are made for like the average person. This 1 to 10% of people who are going to be really intentional with their wealth. You almost need something bespoke or custom made like what you do with Google Sheets then.
Yeah. It's a lot easier because, it's nice to see like your live net worth in the marketplace and really get a comprehensive look into where you stand because it helps you make financial decisions a lot easier. If you're going to be putting money, like your own money and leveraging your own credit and everything into a high investment, then it's really helpful to have all the numbers in one place. And right now we're operating where I don't know about you, but I have like multiple bank accounts in multiple countries. I'm holding multiple different asset classes. So it's hard to consolidate everything.
Yeah, it really is. And you don't want to spend your life enjoying the wealth you've created, not tracking it all. We want to do it and we want to do it in an efficient manner. So I love all that. Now, I know you focus on working with women. Can we talk a bit about that specific niche and like the trends or the nuances you tend to see there?
Yeah, right now we are seeing that the greatest wealth transfer in our lifetime right now is going to be from money in the hands of men to money in the hands of women. And so we are seeing that a lot of different financial institutions, traditional banks are now realizing how much of an untapped market that is. But women work very differently. Men just want to know the numbers and what to do. Some women want that, but they also want a little bit more handholding and they really want to understand why. I don't know about you, but my biggest question when people are telling me to do something, I'm always like, why? I want to know the reason behind it because I want to make sure that I'm making the right decision for me. And so with women, treating women in the financial space and working with women in the financial space is very different. We have to have more of like an emotional approach, a little bit more of a personalized approach and understand the human that we're talking to because women experience such big like up and down phases in their life cycle of, am I going to be a mother? What is that going to mean for my professional career? Will that set me back? Will I want to take time off? And so, the landscape is completely different for men and women. So just having those conversations and working with women in a more tailored manner to understanding what their life goals are is very valuable in the investment space. And for me, it's been like a personal calling to work with women because I know that I would have wanted somebody like me to support me along my journey. And that's how I think most entrepreneurs start their businesses is they're like, what need is out there that maybe I've experienced or that needs to be filled that I'm capable of doing?
If you are serious about scaling your real estate business, you need the Freedom Blueprint. This free guide breaks down the 10 essentials every investor must have to grow profitably while reducing stress. It's a proven roadmap to running your portfolio like a business, so you can stop working 24/7 and start building real wealth. Get your free copy now at adriennegreen.com or check the link in the show notes. Well, and I think you talk about wanting somebody who could have helped you along your journey. You have a great story as well. We were talking before we hit record about how you were in Portugal here for 3 months. And so I think before, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your story and what your financial freedom that you've created, your wealth building journey, the opportunities that it's afforded you in your life.
Thank you. Yeah, I am not the traditional investor. I'll tell you, Adrienne, I'm like super aggressive. My portfolio is about 98% in crypto right now, and I would not recommend this to any of my clients. Because of that, I have created, in a very short period of time, substantial wealth for myself. And that gave me the freedom and the luxury to be able to not be tied down with, real estate investments or things that would have kept me in a certain geographic area. And so I did spend about a year and a half just traveling the world, tapping into communities, deciding if I wanted to invest in real estate in different parts around the world. And there's so many emerging markets. So of course I have my desires, but my whole value system and my whole, intention during this phase of my life has been a value system of freedom and really creating a lifestyle of freedom. And so I sat down and I said, what is important to me and what do I want to experience? And I was like, I just want to, live life to my fullest. I want to experience new things. I want to be engulfed in community. I want to have the freedom of not just time, but geography. And to me, the financial freedom gave me kind of like that rite of passage to say, okay, now's the time to do all of these things. Yeah, it was just like almost like a sign off or permission slip to say, like, okay, go and follow your pursuits and your desires. When, a lot of people don't need that, obviously, to go and travel and do the things that they wanted to do. But I wanted to feel secure in my travels and knowing that I was also traveling luxuriously and enjoyably for myself.
Well, I think, that goal of freedom is something we definitely see is so prevalent in the real estate investor community. And I think most wanted to travel like you did, want to travel when they are financially secure and can do it in a style to which they would enjoy it. So I think that it would definitely resonate. And I'm kind of curious on you know, a little bit of just what places did you enjoy? If somebody's listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this idea. I want to travel. I know I love some certain places, but what were some of the highlights in your year and a half?
Yeah, I really loved the new Middle East. My favorite country was Oman. So it's a country in the Middle East right next to the United Arab Emirates. And, funny enough, like Trump is doing a lot of projects in that area right now. So if anybody's curious about real estate projects for Trump, he's actually doing a lot of deals and things in the Middle East. Very exciting. But there's just beautiful untapped beaches. There's amazing luxury. The people are friendly and kind. And you get to really experience like deep rooted culture, the real Middle Eastern culture. But you feel safe as a woman. You feel, welcomed in a country as a foreigner. And so Oman was probably the highlight of my entire travels. I only was there for 1 week because if you want to travel there, you should know that you need a visa to stay any longer than 2 weeks.
Okay.
Just to note, because for me, I was disappointed that I couldn't stay that much longer. I didn't plan accordingly, but it's always the places that you don't plan on going, but you're pleasantly surprised by detouring to that are probably your favorite. Am I right?
Totally. Yes. I mean, we did a week in South Korea in Seoul, and it was the same thing. We chose it because from where we were going to be in Vietnam to where we wanted to go in Japan, there wasn't any direct flight. And I was like, well, if we have to go through Seoul anyway, why don't we just stay there for a week and, cross it off the list? And we loved it and can't wait to go back. So yeah, I feel you on that. It's not the places that you like spend all this time and hours in ChatGPT researching. It's just like these little hidden surprises. So I'll have to check out Oman. And I love too that it's not like the place you're going to get on the top 5 list from most Americans or Canadians. And that's something I try and tell people to travel is like the more someplace is out of your comfort zone, the more you're going to get out of going there, right? If you're a little worried because they don't speak a language that you speak, or, like when we first went to Asia, I'm like, not only is the language different, the characters are different, right? Things like that. The more it's outside of your comfort zone, the more you're going to get out of it, for sure.
Exactly. I would love to hear a little bit about Vietnam if that was one of your top places too.
Yes, I love Vietnam. We're actually going to head back and spend 4 months there. For you and for the listeners, I wanted to go there and then we went and it was better than we expected. Hanoi is the cultural capital. It's busy, cars and scooters everywhere. And yet, once you get used to that, it's so enjoyable. It's so like authentic Vietnam, I would say, like the markets on the side of the street with like the chickens that just got processed right there and are now for sale and everything like that. It's very authentic and busy and beautiful, and there's so much history there. It was really, really enjoyable to be there and to see that. And then we went to Da Nang, which is on the beach, on the beach, and it has a lot of expats, a lot of people traveling from all over the world to go there. And so, kind of like you were saying, it's like it's got a great community. We get to go there, we get to experience Vietnam, we get to have this beauty and that lifestyle, and we get that community of other people who have things in common with us. And, I travel as a family, my husband, myself, and our 3 kids, and there's a large, what they call world schooling community there. So it adds another aspect or level when you're traveling with the family. But, when we find these places that have other kids and they can get into that community there. Like my kid was doing chess club there with other kids from around the world. It's a pretty special experience.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
They are. And it's one of the things, like, circling it back, it's a great, one of my like gratitudes often, when I do like my daily journaling, is that we get to have this lifestyle and it isn't something that fell in our laps or that we inherited. It was through doing like what you teach people how to do, right? It was through knowing our numbers and being intentional and being strategic about making and preserving and then having your wealth make the wealth for you, right? Through investing, that gave us this opportunity. So yeah, I think it's fabulous how you're helping other people do this into whatever their dream. It may not be to travel the world. It may be something else. And yet you're helping them do that through their financial planning and wealth creation.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm hearing more and more for like the younger generation is a lot of single women want to be moms and they want to financial plan for being moms and they don't have partners. So that has become like a really big priority for people a little bit younger than me and in my age group. But, I always tell them, like, you're traveling abroad. I'm like, you could freeze your eggs and do all these things abroad, and it's a fraction of the price. So it just depends how you want to design your life. But I love that you're
Yeah.
designing your life, for you and your family, Adrienne.
Thank you. And I think it's great you're sharing that. I know somebody who actually did travel abroad and freeze her eggs. And while I have not had to do that, I have 3 children is plenty for me. I think as we've traveled, we've done healthcare and things abroad. And it's so funny because US and again, I'd say probably Canada, you have this idea of like your system is the best. At least like America is like often scared of doing these things abroad. And it's like, honestly, there's a whole range and there are plenty of options out there that are as good or better. And like you said, at a fraction of the cost. It's amazing that, in other areas where the care we've gotten. And I think it's just people don't know. And it's great when you can have this experience and share it with them and open their world to what's out there and take those blinders off.
Yeah, just wait and see. It's, medical tourism is now a huge booming business, especially in like Mexico and Turkey. It's blown up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a great idea. So, hey, listeners here, like, take that trip and you're going to save enough on your medical needs to cover the rest of the cost of the trip and potentially even then some. So I love it. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, hey, I traveled for a year and a half. Of course, I had to go to doctors and specialists abroad. I didn't have a choice. I wasn't going to fly back to the United States for a medical checkup.
Exactly. All right. Well, this has been amazing, Melissa, and I'd love to wrap up with our closing questions. So first, I want to ask, what's one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self when you were starting out?
Stop putting so much pressure on yourself to make things happen in a specific timeline. Just allow some of the joy in and experience the fun of it, and it will all happen exactly when it's meant to.
Yes, you are not the first person to have some wisdom along that line. And it's always good. It's always true. I love it. Very nice. And then what is a book that's been transformational in your wealth journey?
Family Wealth totally changed my idea of like creating legacy and understanding taxes and legacy taxes and really getting clear on trusts, understanding what kinds of trusts are good. That was an amazing read. I think it's on Audible. So I would say definitely if you're curious about creating legacy for the next generation, take a listen.
Awesome. Family Wealth. We'll find that link and we'll put it into the show notes for you guys as well. So you can just click it and get it there. And then, Melissa, I know you have a program that you're launching to help women with all these things we've talked about today. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes. I'm launching a Wealthy Women's Community. And it's basically a community where we are going to be supporting each other along our wealth preservation and growth journey. And so I think, a lot of this money, financial conversations can still be very taboo with women. Women don't feel like they can be like vulnerable and transparent about where they are in their journey. and sometimes the difficulties that they're dealing with in the process. And so this space is going to be a container for support of like-minded women who are heart-centered, who really want to grow, want to get the fundamentals of their financial and investment education, and also want support in a community container. And so I'll be setting up like regular calls and doing micro coaching with the group. But really, I think that because I've been hosting these gatherings in Austin for women, these wealthy women's meetups and wealthy women's workshops here in my home. And now next week, we're actually moving them to Kuya Wellness. And so we'll probably be moving around different spaces here in Austin and partnering with different spas and biohacking spaces and membership clubs. But basically, the journey can feel really lonely. So having the support of other women just to understand what you're going through and guide you along the process and maybe just give you some feedback about what's worked for them and what they could do differently is super helpful. So Wealthy Women's Community will be launching very soon at the end of September.
Very exciting. And if people would like to reach out to you about that or just to, talk or ask other questions, what's the best way for them to connect?
I am the only person in my Instagram DMs. So if you want to just find me on Instagram and follow and send me a message, I respond to every single person. My handle is at Melissa Lindsay Freedman, and I'll give you the exact spelling, Adrienne, so everybody can have it.
Sure. Perfect. We'll get that in the show notes as well. So you guys can just click on it right there and you and Lindsay can go become BFFs. So thank you so much, Lindsay. And for everybody who is watching live or if you're listening on the recording, I appreciate it. What I would love is wherever you are consuming this content, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, write a comment. What did you take away with? What was really impactful for you? And then think about who you know who could benefit from Lindsay's journey and go ahead and share this with them right now so that they can continue on their wealth journey as well. And then catch me again next week for another episode of The Freedom Blueprint.